So how's it going coming to rest, folks? What what are you noticing? Or anyone else? How's it going? How's coming to rest? I always like problems too. All right, Yasmin, you
Hi.
yeah, yes, go ahead, and then Tony.
Um, I've been having a really hard time with meditation, with coming to rest, with everything because I'm in a difficult situation with caregiving for my husband. And it
Yes.
seems like every day there's something new and a new challenge that comes up. And I feel like I'm just running and trying to get things done and trying to take care of everything and my trying to take care of myself and if I don't stop running the train is going to catch up with me
Yeah,
and I'll be overwhelmed by
you
whatever.
don't feel you have any choice to slow down. You have to
Yeah,
keep right there.
but
That's
this week it was a little breakthrough because I'm so conscious of being exhausted, like mentally, physically, emotionally, just exhausted. And I kept thinking about, I need to rest. I need to rest. And so what I started to do was make a point of going to sit with my cat or one of my cats and really just pay attention to the cat. And I like making my, well, this is the like part, right? I like making my cat feel happy, you know?
oh yes.
And
I
and
understand.
sh one of my cats is so skittish and afraid, and I kind of am proud that she's come to trust me, you know? And so it gives me, it lets me let go of all my problems in a way to just be like making the cat happy. So
Yeah, it's one of those things where making the cat happy does really good things for you.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it feels, you know, restful.
yeah, I imagine
Yeah.
it does. So there you go. You found a way to savor something. The cat, the cat's happiness,
Hmm.
your own happiness, making the cat happy. Beautiful. I mean, your situation sounds really challenging. And so, I don't want to make it all sound workable when it's feeling particularly unworkable. But perhaps the word savor will be of help this week. If you just see what that might mean in a given situation, you know, even when you're tired, even when you're running, you know, is there something there to savor?
Okay, I'll try that.
All right, and let us know how that goes.
Thank you.
Uh,
I will.
this stuff is particularly powerful when things are hard. Really, I think that's when the Dharma really pays off, is when things are hard. Um, we start to really get the truth of some of this when it looks like there's nothing we can do. All right, so let me know how it goes. Let me know what you notice.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Tony, you were there a while back.
Hi,
Pop
Mark.
in.
Um, I don't think I'm very good at resting.
Okay.
Especially, I think in particular when I when I sit to meditate, I think I'm like pretty good at resting otherwise, but I have a hard time meditating now without being very tense and kind of automatically going to a place of uh striving to like, you know,
Driving
wake.
to what? What's the goal that your mind sets before you?
Yeah, like get enlightened. Let's do this.
Let's get
And
enlightened.
yeah, and I know that that's silly, but
Well, not entirely, but I know the trap well. Yes.
and it's I recognize that it's a trap and I have for a long time, but when I sit now in the meditation position, it's just like I go on autopilot and I just get tense and anxious. And
Mhm.
um the way I found to not do that is pretty much to daydream. And it seems like the middle ground is hard to come by. So in when I sit nowadays, I still sit in the morning, but I just like stare out the window and I let my mind wander pretty much, which feels good. I don't let my mind wander very often, because I'm
Mhm.
in grad school and I'm very busy all the time.
So in a solid sense, that's helpful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Is it meditating? Does it matter?
Well, I think it is meditating if you bring just an awareness to it of the moment. Just notice the moment as you're staring out the window. Just the bare moment. This is your life. This is it, you know? And I find that that's so much more helpful than I got to get enlightened. And I do actually believe enlightenment lies precisely in that surrender, that release to this is it right now. This is it. It brings you right there and brings you in contact with what's present. So you could be meditating, looking out the window. It could be. And now I'm thinking about you meditating and it making you tense. And it's very clear that what's making you tense is that there's this sense of something to do and to do well. And a whole lot matters about it,
Yeah,
right?
true.
Yeah. So see if the word savoring can it all be of help.
I will.
Yeah. I mean, minds can turn anything into a problem and a task, even savoring, I'm afraid. But see if a word will liberate you just a little bit to not be going anywhere. In Buddhist psychology, it's called craving to become. As you know, craving is the source of suffering in Buddhist teaching. And so craving to become is that kind of leaning into something that you got to get to in order for things to be well, in order for things to be good, in order for things to be happy. That's craving for becoming. And craving to not be is kind of also something sometimes people run into, that they just kind of like get sick of life and want to not be. um, and so those two kinds of cravings are very worth keeping your eye on. The craving to become. So like a phrase like, it's not going anywhere. this is not going anywhere. Play with it. You may find something. I like, as you know, I like these little phrases sometimes that you can drop into a situation that, if you hear them deeply, will release you. But kind of this isn't going anywhere.
Thank you. That feels helpful.
All right, good. Good, Tony. All right, Nate.
Hey guys, just wanted to chime in. I really resonated with the last two speakers. So I guess from what the first speaker said and what you've helped me do lately is be really conscious of weight. Just even when it comes to sitting and walking about, but being really aware of my own body's weight. And I guess when I'm going about my day, like at work, and of course it's really busy, and you think, well, how the hell could I rest in an environment like this? But I've been playing with just taking time to feel the weight of where I am, and just momentarily, I feel at rest, like something shifts and it allows me to just come back to the right here and now rather than doing 10 million other things that I'm supposed to be doing, right?
Beautiful.
And I noticed that when I, especially this week, paid attention to trying not to do anything at all, I find that for me, that invokes a lot of anxiety. There's some sort of motor going on in my mind that says I got to do something. I've wasted so much time already, and time is a finite thing. And I realize it's a really harmful way to think about time, frankly, even though it is true. But it's how I use my time is what really matters. And taking time to rest is something that I need to be doing more of. So I just wanted to say thank you and show my appreciation.
No, you're welcome, Nate. And I might just say, I'm not sure that time is a finite thing. I'm not sure that that's true. I know that our mind makes it that.
Hmm.
And I mean, in a sense, we have these clocks that tick off the seconds and the minutes, and you got an hour, and so yes, there's a finitude there, but there's something that's not finite about time.
I guess in the context of my mortality
Yeah.
is how I see it, at least. Like, hey, I'm not going to be around forever. So what do I got to get
Yeah.
done? That kind of deal.
Even in the face of your mortality, I see if I can even put a concept to this, because it isn't very conceptual, what I'm pointed to. The way that a time is an illusion. I mean, things change, things pass. I don't know, right at the moment, I don't feel very able to describe what I'm talking about. You might just try inquiring, like, how is time infinite? How is there always enough time? Because the thought there isn't enough time, just, it is so, what can I say? It imprisons people. a certain way, the thought there's no time, it creates anxiety, creates this very anxious relationship to life, think that everything's finite. And I think of our culture, and I think of the way we have multiplied things to do, really. We've made life so much more complicated than it has to be. You know, back in the good old days when you had to type everything out in a typewriter and use that silly kind of whiteout to get rid of your mistakes, and it seemed like there was less to do than when we have these word processors, and it's like all these emails coming in, and people are just like knocking out paragraphs right and left that we're supposed to read and respond to, and we've just accelerated so much to do in the effort to somehow get more done, to make better use of our time. I mean, that's always the excuse for these things, isn't it? These labor-saving devices. And I wonder if they've gotten us anywhere. Surely they've gotten us somewhere. I mean, I don't particularly want to go back to doing laundry by hand. But it's one of those things like my phrase, there's nothing wrong here, that you have to kind of drop in and follow it to the place in you that knows it's true in a situation where the mind is seeing wrongness all over the place. And so in a similar way with time, where there's not enough time, try just dropping in, you know, something like there's plenty of time. There's no limit of time. And see what happens. I might be completely nuts. In fact, I probably am. But try it. And that anxiety, that time anxiety, is a mind construction. It doesn't truly exist. It isn't concretely real, in other words. The stress in your body is concretely real, but the construction of mind is not concretely real. All right, I'm going to maybe have to circle back around to this at some point to talk more about time, but some part of me is convinced that this time has no limit is a really helpful frame of reference. Check it out, Nate. See what it does.
Definitely. I'll
Okay.
report back.
All right. And also just those moments where you like feel the weight of your body. It doesn't matter how long they are. You know, what you said was completely true. It doesn't matter how long they are. It's just that moment. There's just this moment that's refreshing, that's wholesome, to go back to my favorite word. It's wholesome, it's refreshing, it resets the mind. And it's just like, once again, one has a brief moment in eternity, you know, before going back into the mind's constructions. There's just a brief moment in presence. All right. How else are you doing with coming to rest? I admit it's not an easy task. It's not an easy topic. Rest is in surprisingly short supply around here. Even though it's infinitely available, it seems to be in short supply. Anybody else want to hop in there? I'm happy to confuse you further. All right, Catalina.
I just want to come to the talk about the thing about time, because one of my desires, one of my wishes, is to be able to be present with people, because I know and I have known that when I'm present, for instance, drinking a cup of tea, or present reading a book, or present being with my mother, time immediately suspended. The time is timeless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And one of the things that my urge in being able to do that is because my mother is getting very old. She's 86. And we have been touched already several times by death. And she's the wisest person you can meet. Is unbelievable wise. And she's a doctor, she's a psychiatrist, and she saved life. Like, we just telling people, you should take this medication and you should take it this way. And so when someone who has been like in deathbed, then she's like alive. So for me, knowing that I'm going to lose her, I have been in the urge of being able to be present with her. That I'm practicing is when I'm with her. The time what I am with her is so valuable that doesn't have the times really doesn't matter, because the intensity that I am with that person, or the intensity that I'm paying attention to this talk or to this book that I'm reading, it really changed the measure of time. So I just wanted to comment about that, about my feeling with time.
Yeah, thank you, Catalina. I think you expressed it well. There are moments when maybe I should, right next to the anxious doer, I should have the anxious timekeeper as a part of the mind that's activated, that can actually relax and go away. And those moments with your mother are moments when the anxious timekeeper goes away. And instead there's something timeless there, something eternal in those moments that you have with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened with a friend of mine. She died 3 months ago. And our friendship came alive just like 3 years ago. And it was so intense, so deep, so honest, that time didn't matter. We didn't know each other, or we didn't meet each other too much. But the times that we were together was so deep that we could have been together for 60 years all the time, but nothing have touched. We only were together for 3 years, and maybe 5 times only. But the intensity of the presence, of the conversation that we are having, of the connection, were so intense that the time, didn't matter. That if we have lived 100 years together. So yeah, I wanted to share that part too.
Great. Yeah. In the Greek language, there's 2 words for time. There's chronos, which refers to kind of the passage of time that we measure, and kairos, which is the felt sense of weight or importance that certain time has. It has a sense of kairos to it, of time that is it has a certain kind of significance to it.
Yeah, and it's imprinted, stay imprinted in our being, you know. And it's not like something came and you forgot totally about what happened, but these things that are really imprinted in our being. Yeah. Right.
Right. That have a quality of presence, of
Yes.
quality of presence to it. That kind of time. Those events that
And
draw that presence.
And for instance, regarding about like time flies, that like if we are able to pay attention, like really, really attention, like every second of attention of what we are doing, really time slows down. You know, like really, really, like, and like if you are loving what you are doing, same thing, time flies. So yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
All right.
Good.
Thank you, Catalina.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a whole homework here. Start to notice time. Time, the slave driver. Let that relax. Your boss won't like me. What else, folks? I have a little more time tonight. You know, for whatever reason, it occurs to me to talk about time. This time of year, you know, one of the aspects of time is the way, in a particular culture, is punctuated by holidays. And this time for this culture, this kind of winter time, has the Thanksgiving holiday, and then the Christian holiday of Christmas. Hanukkah comes in there. Kwanzaa, some other holidays, and the solstice, of course, is the kind of natural thing that happens this time of year, where the light gets really dim, gets to the darkest day of the year. And so there's a seasonal, there's a cyclic kind of time, which I think, of course, existed before human beings made up months and hours and things like that. They knew the cycles. They were aware of the cycles of the moon, the cycles of the sun, the cycles of the light, the cycles of the stars. And it gives a certain kind of punctuation, rhythm to the year that we, don't always notice, but it's there. It's there. I don't know if anybody else watches the night sky. I'd like to go out when it's not raining and look at the stars. And I've really come to learn the night sky. Something in me wanted to become familiar with it. So I did. I became familiar with it. I learned where the constellations are and how they change year to year. From each time of the year, there's a different thing kind of rising in the evening in the east, and I have a nice view of the east, so that works well to watch what's coming up, and that changes, of course, year round. And it's sometimes it's just awesome. I'm awestruck to look out there and know that I'm looking at Jupiter. I'm looking at this huge planetary body that's an unthinkable distance away. And I'm just looking up there. There it is. There it is. And I have binoculars that are strong enough to magnify Jupiter, so I can see the moons. There are 4 moons you can see with just fairly ordinary binoculars. It's amazing to me. Or look up and see Venus. Venus is around in the morning these days. And I'm sometimes up early in the morning, enough to see Venus. But there's a different kind of time, which I think is really rooted in our bodies and in the rhythms of our bodies. I have a homeopath who I talk to regularly. She keeps me going. She's, she's always reminding me that you're supposed to slow down in the winter. Your body is meant to slow down in the winter. And that you don't have to fight that. You don't have to turn things, make things, it sounds like somebody telling me my own stuff. You don't have to make things wrong that aren't wrong. If you want to sleep more in the winter, human beings have been doing that for millions of years. Sleeping more when it's darker out, it's not, some animals just go to sleep and stay there. We live in, cold climates. So it's helpful sometimes to feel the rhythms of things and the feeling of less light. I know some people get depressed in the wintertime. It's not necessarily something to encourage, but there's something that's not depression that is just the human psyche adapting and reflecting the darkness that's more here. And if you live in a cold climate where the days do get really dark and you do get kind of inside more, there's something that happens. And I guess you can flow with it, is what I'm saying. You can actually not resist it, and appreciate something of those rhythms. And, and whatever happens towards the end of January, when you suddenly notice it's getting dark later, that? You start to notice it's just dark a little later. And there's a feeling to that, there's an anticipation. So we're cosmic beings. Let yourself be cosmic that way. Let yourself notice these rhythms and not make anything wrong about them if you can. If there's anything more I have to say, I guess that just kind of came up around the whole thing about time. I imagine, I didn't grow up in the tropics, but I suspect there's something similar that doesn't have so much to do with the light, but has to probably do with dry and wet, and kind of changes that go with that we adapt to. All right, folks, we're at our time. Have another good week, whatever that looks like. Another week of life. And try the savoring out, whatever way makes sense. And if you have a little extra energy to be paying attention to something, time might be something to pay attention to. All right, be well.